Hello and a very good morning. You're watching Breakfast News here on DD India, and over the course of the next 1 hour we'll get you news from across the nation, international sports and business updates, and of course our focus there on Prime Minister Modi's two-day visit to Bangladesh. He's on his way there, the first ever foreign visit undertaken by the Prime Minister since the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. Will be closely covering and analyzing the significance and in fact also updates about the visit there to Bangladesh in our show, and of course continuous coverage here throughout the day today here on DD India. I am Nancy Kohli and with me is Rukma.
A very good morning to you, Nancy, and to all our viewers as well. As Nancy just said, our focus today is the Prime Minister's two-day visit to Bangladesh, and as our reporters on the ground who are covering this story are continuously telling us, Dhaka, the capital, all spruced up for the twin celebrations of the centenary year of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and also it's the golden jubilee of Bangladesh having attained independence. So all the details about what's happening there from our reporters, plus as always news from sports, from business, from across the world, and health as well. But first, here are the headlines.
Prime Minister Modi embarks on a two-day visit to Bangladesh this morning. The visit expected to mark a new chapter in bilateral ties after completion of 50 years of diplomatic relations. On the eve of his departure, the Prime Minister says the two nations have deep cultural, linguistic and mutual relations.
Prime Minister Modi to hold bilateral talks with his Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina during his visit, leading to key agreements being inked, apart from paying homage at the National Martyrs Memorial. Prime Minister to also pay floral tributes at the last resting place of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
Union Home Minister and BJP leader Amit Shah to hold election campaign for his party in Assam. The notification for the 6th phase of the West Bengal Assembly elections to be issued, while the last date for withdrawal of the nominations for 4th phase today. The voting for first phase of Assam and West Bengal tomorrow.
Parliament adjourned sine die, 114% productivity in Lok Sabha and 90% in the Rajya Sabha during the budget session. 18 bills passed in both houses of Parliament, including the union budget.
More than 5 crore 46 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country. 15 lakh vaccine doses given on the vaccination day 69. Maharashtra, Punjab, Kerala, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat report a hike in the daily new cases. These states are contributing over 80% of the daily fresh cases.
In sports, India to take on England in second day-night ODI of the 3-match series in Pune. Rampaging Indian team will aim to seal off another series victory. England will look to level the series and stay alive in the contest. And now let's take a look at the news in detail.
Absolutely, and beginning first with Prime Minister Modi's visit to Bangladesh. He's embarked on his first ever foreign visit since the COVID pandemic broke last year. And during his two-day visit to Bangladesh, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with his counterpart Sheikh Hasina. The Prime Minister will also take part in 3 landmark celebrations and events. That's the 100th birth anniversary celebrations of the father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 50 years of Bangladesh's War of Liberation, and 50 years of India-Bangladesh diplomatic ties.
India and Bangladesh will touch new heights of friendship when Prime Ministers of the two neighboring countries meet on Friday. The vibrancy of this friendship is not only deep, it is also multi-hued. The visit, marking 50 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Bangladesh, will mark the start of another golden chapter in the friendship between the two nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Bangladesh on Friday and Saturday at the invitation of Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This trip is PM's first visit to any foreign country ever since the pandemic broke out and reflects upon the importance of the India-Bangladesh relationship.
The relationship has always been of extremely high priority for India. It is in fact one of our most prized and most important relationships. So from that standpoint, it is a particular pleasure to be able to say that India-Bangladesh ties are at their highest ever level since the 1970s. We can see this in the way in which there is complete political consensus in India of the importance of Bangladesh, the importance of a strong relationship with Bangladesh, and the importance of developing this relationship further.
On March 26th, Prime Minister will visit the National Martyrs Memorial to pay homage to those who laid their lives for liberation of Bangladesh 50 years ago. Thereafter, Prime Minister will attend the National Day program of Bangladesh as guest of honor. 2021 is also celebrated a centenary birth anniversary year of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Another epochal event being celebrated at the same time is 50 years of Bangladesh's liberation. Events are also being held to mark the Golden Jubilee of India-Bangladesh diplomatic ties. Friday will also see Prime Minister Modi jointly inaugurating the Bangabandhu Bapu Museum with his Bangladesh counterpart. He will also take part in several cultural programs. Saturday will see Prime Minister visiting Jeshwareshwari Kali Temple. He will pay respects to the last resting place of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Prime Minister Modi will also plant a sapling there and put his thoughts in visitors' book. His next stop will be Orakandi, where he will pray at the temple of Matua community. Prime Minister will also call on Bangladesh's President Mohammad Abdul Hamid during his visit. He will hold bilateral talks with Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina. Several agreements are expected to be signed between the two countries following the talks. Areas covered are likely to be disaster management, trade, cultural cooperation, health, railways and others. It was 2019 that Bangladesh's Prime Minister had visited India. Several agreements were inked between the two neighbors during the visit, apart from the start of 3 key projects including natural gas. Relations between the two nations have been particularly good in recent years. MEA has termed them as golden era of bilateral relations.
Bangladesh is at the intersection of our neighborhood first and Act East policies. Today it is our largest development partner, our largest trade partner in the region, and is also the location of our largest visa operation in the world, probably the largest anywhere in the world. Despite the pandemic, both sides have been able to maintain a steady momentum in our ties. We have also been able to make progress on a number of other significant areas. Our partnership in combating COVID-19, including the rollout of vaccines, our development partnership, enhancing connectivity, and increased cultural contacts.
COVID times have also seen the two countries cooperate closely in responding to the common challenge. India has even supplied vaccines to Bangladesh. Recent times saw completion of Maitri Setu between the two nations that connects Tripura to Dhaka. It will be key to economic and cultural exchanges between the two neighbors in the coming years. India has always followed the neighborhood first policy and has deep cultural and emotional ties with Bangladesh. This visit is a big step in taking them forward. Clearly, Prime Minister's visit will bring new energy and vigor to this special relationship. With Ramesh Ramachandran, Rajesh Kumar Jha in Dhaka, Bureau Report, DD India.
And Bangladesh is all set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi, especially the people of the Matua community in Orakandi. A sacred shrine of the Matua community in Orakandi is an important destination. In the Prime Minister's 2-day visit to Bangladesh, the PM will also address a public rally there. More in this report.
During his 2-day visit to Bangladesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit a few prominent temples in the neighbouring country amid his tight schedule. One such temple of the Matua community members is in Orakandi. Matua community members count this temple as one of their biggest faith centres. The founder of the Matua community, Hari Chand Thakur, was born in Orakande. Just as Ayodhya is associated with Lord Ram and Mathura with Sri Krishna, the same way is Thakur Nagar in Orakande associated with the Matua community.
Harichand Thakur came at night time and under the tree described his vision to Guruchand Thakur and his younger son about the presence of a temple here, where the idol of Lord Lakshmi Narayan was placed, and devotees are offering prayers here. Later, as per his description, a temple was built at the same location.
Orakande, a sacred shrine of the Matua community in Gopalganj, is an important destination in Prime Minister's two-day visit to Bangladesh beginning on Friday. The Prime Minister will pay his respects at the Guru Harichand Thakur's shrine. Prime Minister Modi will also interact with the members of the Matua community and address a public meeting there. The Matua community was founded by Guru Harichand Thakur in the early 19th century. Members of the sect included the Namashudras, who were considered untouchables. The objective of Thakur's reform was to uplift the community through educational and other social initiatives.
Harichand Thakur is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. Harichand Thakur came to preach name of the Lord. The objective was to inculcate harmony among people.
Matuas traced their ancestry to Bangladesh, and a large chunk of the community moved into West Bengal following the creation of Bangladesh. It was Guru Harichand Thakur who helped Matuas rehabilitate in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also visit Jashoreshwari Kali Mandir during his two-day visit to Bangladesh. The temple is one of the 51 Shakti Peeths, as per the Hindu mythology, scattered across India and neighbouring countries, with 6 being in Bangladesh.
This is from in Satyayug, and the Lord Honorary was built this mandir in ancient age.
In 2015, Prime Minister Modi had visited temples, including the Ma Kali temple at Dakshineshwar. Prime Minister Modi had also visited the Ramakrishna Mutt during that trip. In a world stricken by the grief of COVID-19, Prime Minister's visit to Bangladesh comes as his first overseas visit since the pandemic began. Not only will this visit strengthen Indo-Bangladesh friendship, but it will also add new dimensions to it. With Ramesh Ramachandran in Dhaka, Bureau Report, DD India.
And apart from sharing historical, cultural, linguistic bonds, what also uniquely unites India and Bangladesh is the shared heritage of the Liberation War. Prime Minister Modi's visit is taking place at a time when Bangladesh is celebrating the centenary birth anniversary of its founder Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as Mujib Barsho. The Prime Minister will also pay homage to Bangabandhu at his last resting place during his visit.
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who is known as Bangabandhu in Bangladesh, was not only the founder of Bangladesh but also the first president of Bangladesh. He is also known as the father of the nation in Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Bangladesh is taking place at a time when Mujib Barsho, or the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, is being celebrated. Prime Minister will pay tribute to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on the occasion of his birth centenary and will also attend some other programs. Tungipara will be an important destination for Prime Minister's visit. He will visit Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's mausoleum to pay floral tributes. People are eagerly waiting to welcome Prime Minister there.
We have always found a good friend in India. India's contribution in our liberation war has been exemplary, and nowhere in the world can you find such an example. Thus, we, the people of Bangladesh, wholeheartedly welcome Indians here.
তাই আমরা বাংলাদেশের মানুষ আমরা ভারতবাসীকে অভিনন্দন জানাচ্ছি।
It was Bangabandhu who led the war of liberation against Pakistan, and later on Bangladesh was created. Later, Bangabandhu became the first president of the country. India attaches great importance to Bangladesh. Recently, India had conferred the Gandhi Peace Prize for the year 2020 on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. With inputs from Neeraj Singh, Ramesh Ramachandran's report, DD India.
And ahead of his historic visit to Bangladesh, Prime Minister yesterday said that Bangabandhu was one of the tallest leaders of the last century, whose life and ideals continue to inspire millions. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister said that I am happy that my first foreign visit after the onset of the COVID pandemic will be to our friendly neighboring country, with which India shares deep cultural, linguistic and people-to-people ties. I look forward to my participation at the National Day celebrations tomorrow, which will also commemorate the birth centenary of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Bangabandhu was one of the tallest leaders of the last century, whose life and ideals continue to inspire millions. I look forward to visiting Bangabandhu's Samadhi in Tungipara to pay my respects to his memory. I also look forward to offering prayers to Goddess Kali at the ancient Jashoreshwari Kali temple, one of the 51 Shakti Peeths in the Puranic tradition. I am particularly looking forward to my interaction with representatives of the Matua community at Orakandi, from where Sri Harichandra Thakurji disseminated his pious message. I will be having substantive discussions with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina following a very productive virtual meeting in December last year. I also look forward to my meeting with His Excellency President Abdul Hamid and to interactions with other Bangladeshi dignitaries. My visit will not only be an occasion to convey appreciation for Bangladesh's remarkable economic and developmental strides under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visionary leadership, but also to commit India's abiding support for these achievements. I will also express India's support and solidarity for Bangladesh's fight against COVID-19.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran, who is joining us from Dhaka this morning. Ramesh, good morning. An important visit there of the Prime Minister, the two-day visit to Bangladesh, and important in many ways. Ramesh, first of all, just give us a sense of how really Bangladesh is all set to welcoming Prime Minister Modi attending these three events as nationwide celebrations, as Mujib Borsho, the Prime Minister attending these events as the guest of honor.
Indeed, Nancy, and very good morning to all our viewers. Now, Dhaka, as you mentioned in that report, is all decked up for the much anticipated visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his first overseas visit any country in over a year since the COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic, and his first visit in this new calendar year. So many firsts to his visit to Dhaka. As also your report mentioned there, 2021 is a historic year for Bangladesh. It marks the Golden Jubilee, the 50th anniversary of the country's independence. The country is also celebrating the centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the year also marks the 50th anniversary of India-Bangladesh relations as well.
Sure.
Now, Prime Minister Modi will land here in Dhaka and immediately go to the Jatiya Smriti Shodh, or the National Martyrs Memorial, which pays homage to the war heroes of 1971, and thereafter he will have many other engagements during the day, including a meeting with Prime Minister Hasina on the margins of the National Day celebrations here in Dhaka. Remember, 26 March is the National Day, Independence Day of Bangladesh. It's a big moment for Bangladesh, and Prime Minister Modi is the guest of honor, the chief guest at the celebrations here in Dhaka.
Right, Ramesh, we are also saying here that India-Bangladesh ties have never been better. Whether you look at India's assistance to Bangladesh during the time of the COVID pandemic, the assistance in increasing connectivity, opening up our lines of connectivity, whether it is through rail or through road or through waterways. Well, what is it like from the other side of the border? What is the spirit there that you see and experience and feel?
Indeed. Rukma, it's a very interesting question, a very pertinent one, because when you talk to a cross-section of Bangladeshi society, academics, journalists, civil society members, there's a lot of goodwill for India. There's a groundswell of goodwill for India here in Dhaka especially. And the fact is that Bangladesh is key to India's neighborhood first policy as well as Act East policy. Remember, the Act East policy is actually anchored here in Bangladesh besides India's northeast. That's number one. And number two, talking about connectivity issues, we've seen the last several weeks India take up a number of projects to improve connectivity to to ramp up connectivity between the two countries in terms of railway connectivity or inland waterways. And the big thing, the takeaway from this visit, Rukma, would be the number of MOUs that could be signed towards the end of the talks here in Dhaka sometime tomorrow evening. So a number of agreements, including on disaster management, trade and investment, could be signed towards the end of those bilateral talks. So all in all, on balance, a much anticipated visit, something people here are looking forward to, especially in the golden jubilee year of Bangladesh's independence. And just very quickly, in fact, Prime Minister Modi has written an editorial this morning in the local newspaper called the Daily Star, in which he writes that the article is titled "Imagining a Different South Asia with Bangabandhu." That's the title of the article. He penned himself in the Daily Star newspaper. And by way of additional information, Rukma, just before his visit, India conferred the Gandhi Peace Prize for the year 2020 on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So all in all, Dhaka is all set to receive and host PM Modi over the next couple of days here.
Absolutely. And Ramesh, like you also mentioned, their connectivity emerging as a major pillar in the bilateral ties. And of course, this visit of the Prime Minister undertaken to bolster the bilateral ties between the two nations. Also, in fact, very important, this visit aimed at consolidating the economic and strategic ties as well.
Absolutely. In fact, this would be the second meeting between the two Prime Ministers, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, in the last 4 months. Remember, they met on a virtual mode in December. So this would be their second meeting in the last several months. But that aside, as I mentioned, connectivity, trade, investment, people-to-people ties, cultural issues will be front and center of their engagements and talks here in Dhaka over the next couple of days. Besides that, Nancy and Rukma, Prime Minister Modi will be the first leader from this part of the world who will actually travel outside of Dhaka. Remember, in the last week or so, many leaders from Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka have visited Dhaka for the anniversary celebrations. But PM Modi will be the first leader to actually travel outside of Dhaka to showcase the close linguistic, cultural ties between the two countries, especially his interaction with the Motuwa community on the outskirts of Dhaka here sometime tomorrow.
Right. Well, and when we talk about the celebrations today, we do believe that some leaders will physically be present as well from other countries. What can you tell us about that?
Well, in the last, the celebrations began actually on 17th March. 17th March is the birthday of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. It's a big occasion for Bangladesh. He was born in 1920. So 17th March was the day when the celebrations actually began here in Dhaka, and since then we've seen a number of leaders visit Dhaka, including the leaders of Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal and Bhutan, and PM Modi will be the guest of honor, the chief guest on 26th March, that is today, at the Independence Day celebrations here in Dhaka. That aside, many other dignitaries have been invited, and they are spread over a number of events, including, as I mentioned, the event at the parade ground, followed by the cultural program marking the National Day celebrations at the Bangabandhu International Conference Center here in Dhaka, along with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina sometime later in the evening.
Absolutely. And Ramesh, you also mentioned Prime Minister Modi there meeting with the Mathua community there. And, first of all, just put this into perspective for us, the significance there of the Mathua community, and what's the sense of enthusiasm that you can see amongst the community?
Well, I wish I had a chance to visit Orakandi and interact with the Motuwa community there, Nancy, but my colleagues are there, and they've been sending us reports from the ground there, exclusive reports here on DD News and DD India. But the fact remains that it is an important day and engagement for PM Modi himself, because remember, he'll be the first leader, a rare visit actually by any world leader, to the mausoleum of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman at Tungipara in Gopalganj, and from there he will travel to the neighboring areas and visit a couple of temples, including the Jeshureshwari temple at Shatira. He also interact with the Motuwa community, and they are spread actually over a number of districts, both in Bangladesh as well as across the border in India. So they are a sizable chunk here of the population, especially minorities, and they represent the close cultural, linguistic ties that exist between the two countries, Bangladesh and India.
Okay. All right, Ramesh Ramachandran, thanks very much for joining us for the moment from Dhaka and sharing all those details and, of course, analysis and coverage there as far as Prime Minister's two-day visit to Bangladesh is concerned. But we'll be closely following and getting all the updates there as and when they happen. A continuous coverage here on DD India on Prime Minister Modi's two-day visit to Bangladesh.
Right, and well, on the occasion of his historic visit to Bangladesh, Prime Minister wrote a special op-ed in the Daily Star with the title Imagining a Different South Asia with Bangabandhu. Through the article, the Prime Minister has asked, I quote, "As we look back on Bangabandhu's life and struggles, I ask myself, what could our subcontinent have looked like had this modern-day giant not been assassinated?" The write-up can be accessed and read by viewers on the link www.thedailystar.net/opinion/news/imagining different South Asia Bangabandhu. And Parliament was, well, back home now. More news, updates from Parliament. Parliament was adjourned sine die on Thursday ahead of the budget session's schedule in view of the assembly elections in 4 states and in Puducherry. 19 bills were passed in the Rajya Sabha during the session and 18 in the Lok Sabha, including the union budget, despite several stormy exchanges between the Treasury and opposition benches over several issues. Here's a report.
The budget session of Parliament came to an end on Thursday with both the houses adjourned sine die ahead of their schedule. The productivity of Lok Sabha during the session stood at 114%, while Rajya Sabha achieved the 90% of the productivity. In the first session of the budget, the President addressed the joint session of both the houses and the general budget was presented on 1st February. In the second session, important legislative works were carried out. A total of 19 bills were passed in Rajya Sabha, while 18 bills went through Lok Sabha. Important bills passed in Parliament includes Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bill 2021, Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill, Constitution Scheduled Caste Order Amendment Bill 2021, Insurance Amendment Bill 2021, National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Bill 2021, Marine Aids to Navigation Bill 2021, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill 2021, Finance Bill 2021, Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Amendment Bill 2021, Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Bill 2020.
Barring few hours, the total function of the House, both the houses, were quite good. There was discussion, there was debate, and this is the spirit of democracy. I thank the even both ruling as well as opposition bench also.
The Rajya Sabha on Thursday passed the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill 2021. The bill seeks to fund infrastructure projects in the country, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman asserting that its audited accounts will be placed before both the houses of every year and they will have oversight of the institution.
Permanent arrangement mentioned in my budget, a permanent arrangement of an SPV facility is considered for providing liquidity so that they can act as the buyer of the last resort during stress times and to some extent even acting as a market maker during times of peace.
The Lok Sabha on last day of the session discussed many important issues. Replying to a question in lower house, Road and Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari said that government is taking several steps to provide smart transportation and reduce pollution. He said government is focusing on alternate fuel to address the pollution issue.
मुझे बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि अब 81% लिथियम आयन बैटरी देश में बन रही है और 2 साल के अंदर हमारी इलेक्ट्रिक बाइक, इलेक्ट्रिक 4-व्हीलर और डीजल की बस, इसकी कीमत इक्विवेलेंट टू इलेक्ट्रिक के समान दोनों एक होगी, इतना रेट कम हो जाएगा.
The budget session witnessed heated exchange between opposition and Treasury bench at many occasions. Now all eyes are on the monsoon session of the Parliament, as the Minister assured that the session will start at its scheduled time. Parliament team, DD India.
And let's now move on to some poll-related news now. The campaigning has come to an end on Thursday evening for the first phase of the assembly elections in West Bengal and Assam. In Assam, the first phase of polling for 47 assembly constituencies is slated for 27th of March, when the voters will decide the fate of 264 candidates from across various parties and political affiliations. In West Bengal, 191 candidates will be vying for the 30 seats during the initial phase. The state is witnessing 8 phased elections. Out of 30 seats, the BJP is contesting on 29 and the alliance partner AJSU fighting from the Bagmundi seat in Purulia district, while the TMC is contesting on 29 seats and supporting an independent candidate in Jaipur constituency. The Congress, left parties and their alliance partner, the Indian Secular Front, are fighting under the banner of Sanyukt Morcha.
Meanwhile, notification for the 6th phase of the West Bengal Assembly elections will be issued today. 43 constituencies spread over 4 districts will go to polls in this phase on the 22nd of April. Districts going to polls in the 6th phase are North Pargana Part 2, Purbo Bardhaman Part 2, Nadia and Uttar Dinajpur. It is also the last day for withdrawal of nomination for 4th phase of West Bengal Assembly polls. 44 seats spread over 5 districts will go to polls on the 10th of next month. Well, as we were telling you, the last day of withdrawal for West Bengal Assembly polls is the 26th of March, and the date of polling is the 10th of April for phase 4, and total number of seats are 44 in this phase. Well, moving on, campaigning has meanwhile intensified in the poll-bound states and the Union Territory for the upcoming polls. Star campaigners and senior leaders are crisscrossing poll-bound states to woo voters. Union Home Minister and BJP leader Amit Shah will hold public rallies and meetings in Assam. Amit Shah will campaign in Kamalpur in Kamrup and Jagirod in Morigaon, Patharkandi in Karimganj and Silchar in Kachar district during the day.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Kamal Bora. They're joining us with more updates from on the ground in Assam. Kamal, first of all, just give us a sense of how really the political temperature is soaring ahead of the first phase of polling there in the state.
Yes, see, first of all, already since tomorrow the first phase is going to take place in 42nd constituency. So campaigning has already ended yesterday, but let me tell you that campaigning for the second phase also has begun with the Prime Minister's visit to the state 2 days back. And today also we have seen that BJP is carrying out a hectic schedule for today. About 13 to 15 rallies are to take place today and led by various leaders. And Amit Shah, the Home Minister, is also going to take part in 4 rallies in 4 constituencies. 2 in Barak Valley, as you have mentioned, Silchar and Patharkandi, and 2 are in Brahmaputra Valley. 1 in Kamrup district, that is Kamalpur, and 1 in Morigaon district, that is Jagirod. So all these 4 constituencies, so elections are going to take place on 1st of April. That is why we can see that as usual, the BJP has intensified their campaigning campaigning all across the state. So it's going to be a very hectic scheme today also, and these 4 constituencies are also very important because if I have talked about the Barak Valley, this time BJP is eyeing to capture all the constituencies in Barak Valley. That is why they are visiting this district 4, this 3 districts, So they don't want to leave any stone unturned to capture all the constituencies in Barak Valley. But Jagiru, it is already under BJP, so they don't want to lose it. And the candidate of BJP in Jagiru constituency, he is a very popular one. So definitely he has a belief that he is going to win it again. So and Amit Shah is also coming here today. So definitely it's gonna encourage the party workers a lot, and enthusiasm also. If we talk about the enthusiasm about among the supporters, it is also in high in all the constituencies.
Right, Kamal. Well, you've just told us about how the BJP would be targeting the entire Barak Valley. Well, what about the mood among the people? The BJP government, the incumbent government there has ruled for 4 years, more than 4 years now. Do they feel that the issues have changed somewhat? Have their issues been resolved over these years? What is the mood?
Yes, exactly. It's a very important question you have asked. We have seen that before 2016, 15 years Congress has ruled, and the Barak Valley was known as a stronghold for the Congress party. But in 2016, many seats that were with the Congress that came to BJP, that were captured by BJP, and we have also seen that many Congress leaders from that region have joined BJP. They have shifted to BJP. Definitely, it's gonna be a very beneficial for the BJP in the Barak Valley. And also, as far as the mood of the people are concerned, definitely when we have seen that with the Citizenship Amendment Act, we have seen that most of the people in Barak Valley, they became supporter of BJP due to this act. They are supporting this act. Definitely, due to with this Citizenship Amendment Act, the BJP is going to take the benefit of it, and Barak Valley is definitely going to show a result in favor of BJP this time also. And this is the move we have seen so far among the people in Barak Valley.
Okay. All right, Kamal Bora, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those details as far as the first phase of polling in Assam that takes place tomorrow is concerned. Thanks very much, and let's now move on, get you updates now on the COVID-19 nationwide vaccination drive there. In fact, the cumulative number of vaccine doses administered in the country has crossed 5 crore 46 lakh. These include over 80 lakh healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and around 51 lakh healthcare workers who have also taken the second dose. Now, over 85 lakh frontline workers have taken the first dose and around 33 lakh frontline workers have also taken the second dose. More than 2 crore 42 lakh beneficiaries aged more than 60 years and over 54 lakh 31,000 beneficiaries aged more than 45 years with specific comorbidities were vaccinated till date. Over 15 lakh 20,000 vaccine doses were given till 7 in the evening on Thursday.
And now for our regular update on COVID-19 from across the country. 6 states, Maharashtra, Punjab, Kerala, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat are reporting a surge in daily new cases. India's total active caseload stands at 3,95,000, which comprises 3.35% of total positive cases. India's cumulative recoveries stand at 1 crore 12,31,650. The national recovery rate is 95.28%.
Moving on, the Sri Lankan boat with narcotics and arms seized by the Indian Coast Guard at the Minicoy Island on 18th March reached Vinjina yesterday. The Coast Guard ships and the aircraft, while conducting extensive search in the area of Lakshadweep Islands on the 18th of March, had detected 3 suspicious boats off the Minicoy Islands and intercepted those. On rummaging of the boats, high-grade 300 kilograms of heroin and 5 AK-47 rifles with 1,000 live rounds were recovered from the Sri Lankan fishing boat Ravi Hansi. Now, the estimated value of the narcotics in the international market is approximately 3,000 crore rupees. Well, all the 3 boats along with the 19 crew were escorted to Kerala for further joint investigation. And this is the second major anti-drug trafficking operation undertaken by the ICG on the west coast of India within a fortnight. On the 5th of March this year, the ICG ships and the aircraft in a coordinated operation in Lakshadweep seas had successfully apprehended the Sri Lankan boat Akarsha Duwa with 6 crew of the Minicoy Island. The crew had then admitted of carrying 200 kilograms high-grade heroin and 60 kilogram hashish, which was jettisoned at the sea on the sighting of the ICG ships on patrol. Well, the past 1 year has proved to be a big setback for the drug traffickers at the sea, as the Coast Guard has successfully seized about 1.6 tons of narcotics worth 4,900 crore rupees. Now, the total drug haul done by the Indian Coast Guard since inception amounts to 10,952 crore rupees. The back-to-back successful anti-narcotics operations are the testimony of smooth and cohesive flow of information with the government, the various government agencies and the Indian Coast Guard. While this setup has kept at bay the nefarious designs of the anti-national elements of exploiting our maritime zones for malicious intent.
Asia's largest tulip garden has been opened for the general public and tourists in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. The tulip garden has over 15 lakh flowers of more than 64 varieties in full bloom. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a tweet had appealed to people to visit Jammu and Kashmir and visit Asia's largest tulip garden. The garden was closed last year for visitors amid the coronavirus pandemic. And now for some updates on the Dandi Yatra, which has a special significance in our freedom struggle as we celebrate this day.
Well, let's now flip the pages of history and remember how the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, 13 days into the Dandi March, left for Samol on the 14th day. Travelling a distance of about 20 kilometers, Gandhi ji, along with fellow Padyatris, walked from village to village and reached Darol in the evening to spend the night in a room that was made for the labourers working in the cotton ginning processing mill.
It was in the evening of 25th March in 1930 that Gandhiji had arrived in Derol from Samne. The room where Gandhiji spent the night still has the marks of his footsteps ingrained there. Gandhiji had a simple dinner that day, having only fruits. During the night, Gandhiji had explained to the mill workers the significance of the Dandi March.
गांधी जब दांडी यात्रा पे निकले थे तो वो हमारे गांव में रात रुके थे और ये जो जिनिंग एंड प्रेसिंग सोसाइटी त्रालसामाद है इसके लेबर क्वार्टर में गांधी जी रुके थे और गांधी जी ने गांव में से बकरी मंगाई और बकरी का दूध पिया और फिर फलाहार किया.
91 years on, everyone who is treading the path of Gandhiji's Dandi Yatra is filled with patriotic fervour. 62-year-old Piyush Ramachandra Shah, a resident of Ahmedabad, also feels great pride in undertaking this Padyatra from Sabarmati to Derol.
Really, मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी चैलेंज है कि मैं रनिंग के सिवा वॉकिंग करके ये यात्रा इन लोगों के साथ करूं और मैं करीबन 70% तो सक्सेस हूँ. चैलेंज है मेरे लिए और मैं अच्छा जा रहा हूँ. ये सब लोग अच्छे जा रहे हैं और कोई भी अभी तक इंजर नहीं हुआ है, कोई भी एक्सीडेंट नहीं हुआ है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ है, कोई व्यक्ति हम 81 में कोई मानस अभी कोई इंजरी में नहीं है. वो बहुत अच्छा है.
It is very heartening to see that people from different regions, religions and caste are all participating in this Padyatra.
गांधी की यात्रा जो गांव-गांव तक चलती थी उसके पीछे संदेश समुत्कर्ष था कि हर भारत के छोटे-छोटे गांव से आए हुए लोग, हर विभिन्न प्रजातियों के लोग, हर वर्ग के लोग का उत्थान हो, सबका विकास हो, तब भारत का विकास होगा. गांधी जी ने कहा था कि असली भारत गांव में बसता है. हर गांव, हर गली, हर मोहल्ले में ज्ञाति जाति मत पंथ संप्रदाय सबसे ऊपर उठकर लोग हमारा स्वागत कर रहे हैं। वंदे मातरम भारत माता की जय बोल के हमें लोग हमारा अभिवादन कर रहे हैं। बड़ा ही उम्दा अनुभव, मानो हम एक लघु भारत देख रहे हैं और पूरा भारत हमारे साथ यात्रा में चल रहा है, ऐसा अनुभव हमारा हो रहा है।
The symbolic Dandi March that the Prime Minister flagged on 12th of March this year is a great reminder for the new generation of the immense sacrifices given by our founding fathers for our independence. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with that, let's move on now and get you news from around the world in our segment Across the Globe.
The United States and Britain imposed sanctions on conglomerates controlled by Myanmar's military following the general's February 1st coup and deadly crackdown, with Washington calling it a response to abhorrent violence and abuses. The U.S. Treasury Department has said its sanctions targeted Myanmar Economic Holdings Public Company Limited and Myanmar Economic Corporation Limited. Britain has imposed similar sanctions on MEHL, citing the Myanmar military's serious human rights violations against Rohingya Muslims. Also, the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee held a virtual hearing on the coup, with senators questioning a State Department representative on the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden's policy towards Myanmar.
North Korea has said it has launched the newly developed new type tactical guide projectile. The state news agency of North Korea showed a black and white painted projectile blasting off from a military launch vehicle. The new weapon is based on existing technology that was improved to carry a 2.5-ton warhead. The report states that the test-fired weapons have accurately hit a target of 600 kilometers away. As per the reports of the agency, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un did not attend the launch.
A Spanish Coast Guard vessel rescued 26 migrants from a dinghy boat 12 miles off the south coast of Gran Canaria. The boat carrying the migrants later arrived at Gran Canaria's Arguineguin port. The number of undocumented migrants arriving in Spain's Canary Islands has risen eightfold since last year, in comparison to 2019, with the impact of COVID-19 on tourism. Hundreds have died or gone missing since last year after attempting the crossing to the Spanish islands in the Atlantic Ocean.
And let's now move on, take a look at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. Over 12 crore 60 lakh people worldwide have contracted the COVID-19, while more than 10 crore 17 lakh have also recovered from it. So far, the death toll from the virus stands above 27 lakh 66,000 globally. The US continues to remain the worst affected from COVID-19, with the number of cases crossing 3 crore 7 lakh. The country has seen over 5,59,000 fatalities from COVID-19, followed by Brazil, where more than 3,03,000 lives have been lost due to it.
European Union leaders have agreed to step up production of COVID-19 vaccines in Europe and improve the rollout of inoculations across member states in a summit. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that after a summit of EU leaders that vaccinations are progressing steadily and the bloc is on course to have 70% of adults inoculated in the second quarter. The leaders was also marked the short participation of US President Joe Biden, who seeks to repair ties after 4 difficult years with former President Donald Trump. Also, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced frustration over a massive shortfall in contracted deliveries of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines. As a third wave of infections is surging across Europe, the head of the EU executive has warned that vaccine exports by the British-Swedish company would be blocked until it delivers the shots it promised to the EU. Of 300 million doses due to be delivered to EU countries by the end of June, AstraZeneca aims to deliver only 100 million.
Iraq has received its first batch of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Iraq's health minister said that 336,000 doses were received as part of the COVAX scheme and will be distributed to all the governorates, including the Kurdistan region. The country last year recorded tremendous rise in the COVID-19 cases. It now has more than 8,15,000 cases of COVID-19 and over 14,000 fatalities.
Mexico's COVID-19 death toll is close to surpassing the 2 lakh mark, making it the world's third country to reach the grim milestone after the United States and Brazil. Mexico's health ministry said that the number of cases and fatalities is significantly higher than the official data. The country is scrambling to handle the growing number of COVID cases. Mexico is among those countries that rolled out the vaccine early, but the process has been hampered due to delays in vaccine deliveries. Mexico has over 22,08,000 cases of COVID, while it has registered more than 1,99,600 deaths due to the virus. And time now for all the news from the world of sports in Sports Track.
Well, after a convincing 66 runs victory in the first ODI, confident Virat and company would like to continue their dominance against England and take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the ODI series. On the hand, the 2019 World Cup champions' pride will be at stake when they face India at the same venue today. Here's more in this report.
Cut away, and that'll find the boundary.
India came back from the first ODI against England with a mixed bag. The comprehensive 66-run win was a confident booster, but injury to Shreyas Iyer and Rohit Sharma complicated matter. However, this will be a chance for Suryakumar Yadav to make an impact after a wonderful T20 debut against England. Shreyas Iyer's injury is a crushing blow for Team India. In India's middle order, he has become a reliable batsman who can take the innings forward if the top order fails. In Suryakumar Yadav, India will get a different batsman who does not take time to settle down. Rather, he unsettles bowler from the get-to-go, swinging the match in the favour of his team. It was evident during his performance against England on his T20 debut. He began his international batting career pulling Jofra Archer for a mammoth 6. His illusion will also give Virat Kohli the option to promote KL Rahul to opening the innings alongside Shikhar Dhawan, in case Rohit Sharma is unavailable due to elbow injury. Fifth T20 international after the string of a poor performance was back at his best, scoring a 43-ball 62 on Tuesday. As for ODI debutant Krunal Pandya, he will retain his place as well after a fantastic 58-run knock. Amongst other, Hardik Pandya will keep his place, but Kuldeep Yadav, having hammered by England's batsmen in first ODI for 68 runs in 9 overs, may make a way for Yuzvendra Chahal. The leg spinner has hit a rough patch as wickets have dried up. Amongst the pacer, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Shardul Thakur will continue to lead India's attack. As for the third pacer, with 4 wickets for 58 runs on his debut, Prasidh Krishnan created a record that Kohli or team management cannot overlook. While he was expensive, his wicket will help him to retain his place for the second match of the ODI series. Sports Desk, DD India.
And let's now move on, get your health story of the day today.
Adolescents tend to eat more meals away from home, and they may be eating too much of the wrong types of food. Unhealthy eating habits can cause nutritional deficiencies in adolescence. How do you get proper nutrition during adolescence? We tell you all in our next story.
Healthy eating during adolescence is important as body changes during this time affect an individual's nutritional and dietary needs. Many adolescents experience a growth spurt and an increase in appetite and need healthy foods to meet their growth needs. Adolescents need extra nutrition for optimal physical growth, bone growth and strength, pubertal growth and development, hormonal changes, organ and tissue development, increased physical activity levels, and basal metabolic rate.
Adolescence is a growing phase of life and having a balanced food is very, very important. Balanced diet has a certain proportion of carbohydrates, proteins, minerals and vitamins.
Adolescents should not skip their breakfast. They should drink plenty of water, limit high processed food, sugary drinks and eating out. Healthy eating habits and physical activity help lower the risk of obesity during adolescence. Any nutritional deficiency experienced during this critical period of life can have an effect on the future health of the individual.
If you were to divide the plate into two halves, half the plate having cooked vegetables and the salads and the fruits provides basically the vitamins and the minerals in the form of iron, zinc, folic acid, vitamin B12, etc. And the other half of the plate is divided into two halves. One part has the cereals, that is the rice, chapati, and the other part has the proteins, which are the legumes, dals, eggs and the meat. It is important to also include curd and milk with each diet plan.
Adolescent nutrition is important for supporting the physical growth of the body and for preventing future health problems. All parents should pay particular attention to the nutritional needs of their teenagers. Kiran Bharadwaj, DD News.
And let's now take a look at the significance of this day in history.
On this day in year 1907, Mahadevi Verma, a Hindi poet, freedom fighter, women's rights activist and educationist, was born in Farrukhabad of Uttar Pradesh. She was an eminent poet of Chayawad. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared East Pakistan to be Independent Republic of Bangladesh on the same day in year 1971. On this day in year 1974, Gaura Devi, a peasant woman, gathered other women in and around her village in the Garhwal Himalayas and by hugging trees and through other forms of defiance, together prevented loggers from felling trees. This act by illiterate tribal and village women to reclaim their traditional forest rights was a dramatic movement in Chipko Andolan. On the same day in 2000, Vladimir Putin was elected as President of Russia. Presidential elections were held in Russia in March 2000. Incumbent Prime Minister and acting President Vladimir Putin was seeking a 4-year term in his own right and won the elections in the first round.
And time now to take a look at today's weather forecast and weather report. The satellite picture shows a rise by 4 to 6% in maximum temperatures over most parts of northwest India. In the next 3 days, gradual rise in maximum temperatures by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius over most parts of central India and by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius over most parts of east, west and peninsular India in the next 3 days. No heat wave conditions likely over the country in the next 4 to 5 days except in Saurashtra and Kutch and Konkan and Goa. Under the influence of strong lower level southwesterlies from Bay of Bengal, fairly widespread to widespread rain also expected in many parts. Let's take a look at temperatures now across the country. Well, we've come to the end of this edition of Breakfast News, but news and updates will be continuing throughout the day. We are focusing on the Prime Minister's two-day visit in Bangladesh, all the events as they happen, along with news and analysis. So keep watching DD India throughout.
Absolutely, and with that, like Rukma mentioned, we've come to the end of the breakfast show. But before we go, we are urging you once again to not let your guard down against COVID-19, and please keep wearing your masks and keep wear those properly. And in fact, exercise utmost precaution during the Kumbh festivities and the upcoming Holi festival. Before we go, we are leaving you with this with a glimpse of adorable trio there of alpacas in the London Zoo. Take a look at those visuals, and we wish you a great and a safe day ahead. Thanks for being with us.
Namaskar.